Well, we finally get to do this. We have tried several times and now we're finally here. Yay. How are you, Meg?
I'm okay, thank you. I'm really well. Nice to be here. It's obviously very late here compared to where you are at the moment. So I've had several coffees to keep myself awake. How are you?
Great. Oh, I'm wonderful. Yeah, I am on a tea kick. So for like the last few episodes, I've been drinking tea instead of coffee, but it's good.
Nice. I mean, this is tea because it's now too late to drink coffee. So yeah. I'm joining you with the tea.
I'm one of those weirdos that can drink a whole pot of coffee at midnight and still go to bed and sleep all night.
Wow. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. So you are from Liverpool, England. Your name is Meg Doherty. For all the people that are not blessed and fortunate to know you, we're introducing you to as many people as we can today. And you are very talented. You're a singer-songwriter, and so talented that Russell Crowe has tweeted and retweeted you multiple times.
Yes. Yeah. I kind of forget how crazy that is sometimes. And then it's not until I say it out loud to a new person that it sinks in again, all over again, just how bizarre that is. It's amazing to have even the slightest bit of support from someone like that, never mind somebody who I admire so much. So yeah.
Yeah, and you and I both are huge Russell Crowe fans. And I was trying to think about like how we actually met. And we met on Twitter because of Russell Crowe. Because he tweeted, I think it was a YouTube video, because you covered a Birdie song, like what, in 2014-ish. We're going way back because I can't remember what happened yesterday, but and he tweeted that, and I listened to it, and then I found your YouTube channel and listened to some of your songs and thought you had the loveliest voice. And so I reached out to you, and then we've just been kind of chatting back and forth ever since.
Yes. Yeah, because I was trying to remember as well. I know we've got the several social medias now. We've got Instagram's kind of the main way that I think I'd speak to you. But yeah, it was all started on Twitter a long time ago.
Yes. Well, thank you, Russell Crowe. He'll never see this, but if he does, thank you for introducing me to Meg.
You never know. I never thought he'd see anything of mine, but after some really persistent nagging, it got there eventually.
Yeah, he did technically, like, I hope it's the little things. He did technically respond to me on Twitter once, related to a water diviner post. So I had, I think I'd asked a question about when it was coming to the US, and he responded with a date, and that was it. And it was like, oh, okay.
It's the little things that mean a lot though, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, it really is. Well, tell me, when you knew that you wanted to be a musician, because you and I have not really talked about your background and your love for music and how that all started. So I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this a lot since you asked me to come on this this talk, and it was when I was very, very young. My mum bought my dad an acoustic guitar for one of his birthdays. I can't remember which one. I could probably work it out, but I'd never really played an instrument before. I was about 6 at the time, and when he got that acoustic guitar, all I wanted to do was play with it more than he did. And it was his gift, so I'd kind of play it like a sitar, because it's a full, in fact it's this that I've got behind me now. It's a full acoustic guitar, and 7-year-old me couldn't hold that guitar properly, so I'd have it flat on the floor and I'd just play it. Probably sounded absolutely dire, but my mum and dad then bought me my own half-size, kids acoustic guitar to get started for my birthday that year, and that was when I was 7. So I loved it from as soon as I'd seen a guitar. And then when I got my own, I really loved learning chords and started writing pretty much straight away, and that love of music has just never gone. It's just, I think I've always known as soon as I could play guitar, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I hear that so much from people. It just seems like for all of us, we kind of had those inklings at a really young age, those things that we were led to, those things that just, striked our curiosity. And and just kind of like you're meant to do it,
Absolutely. I think it's innate. I really do. I know you can learn, you can develop a talent, and you can learn how to do something new. But I think things like that are, they're right from our very core. They're built into us.
Absolutely. Well, what inspires you? I ask almost every guest that. So, and I love all the different answers that I get.
I think my answer to that will probably align with a lot of your previous guests and what they've said, because it's not anything out of the ordinary. People inspire me, and places and feelings of nostalgia, they inspire me to write. And I think relationships are very inspiring as well, both my own and other people's. So looking at literature and films, I quite like writing from another person's perspective. And it wasn't until I was in university that I thought, in fact, no, it's before university. It was for one of my A-level exams. I wrote from a different character's perspective. I'd never done that before. And it was just a really interesting experience, having to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And it opened up a whole world of possibilities for lyrics, because it didn't have to mean something personal to me. It could be whatever I wanted it to be for a different character. So yeah, I think there's just so much that inspires me. And it's hard when you lose that inspiration to get motivated and get back on track again, but you do it.
Yeah, I know we have to push through. It can be really hard, but yeah, no, I get that definitely. And I have a background in acting as well, and in theater and all of that. So yeah, being able to put yourself in a character and in someone else's shoes and kind of live and like just navigate through that is really awesome. It's something I enjoy. So,
yeah, definitely.
Well, who would be your biggest musical influences?
Overall, I think the obvious one, with me being from Liverpool, is the Beatles. So they're a huge influence. And when I was little, I think anyone from Liverpool who likes the Beatles will be the same. You don't realise the enormity of that band and just how famous they are and were globally. It's just another brilliant band. And the fact that they're from Liverpool doesn't have as much significance when you're younger. So all growing up, it was just a brilliant band I listened to. And gradually, bit by bit, it was kind of, my eyes were open to the fact that they are just absolutely massive everywhere. But yeah, their music and their work ethic and everything about them kind of inspires me to write the way I write, and write as often as I used to write. I'm trying to get back to writing more frequently now. But Kate Bush is another huge influence as well, who just absolutely love her music. It was my mum's eldest brother who introduced me to Kate Bush, and the whole family loves Kate. She's just so different. And I think I really like the fact that, unlike the Beatles, not many of my friends and people in school really knew about Kate Bush or really listened to her very much, because it's not the 80s anymore. So she's not as popular now as she maybe has been in the past. But yeah, absolutely love her music. They're my two main influences, and Alan Doyle's another big influence from the last decade or so. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask you about the Beatles. So I'm a fellow Beatles fan. Who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
That changes all the time. It always was George when I was younger, but either George or Paul are my favorites.
Yeah, Paul has always
Who's your
been my
favorite?
favorite. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, it's always, but I love them all. And you mentioned George. I love the song "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." That's
beautiful.
One of my all-time favorites. It's so beautiful. It's haunting. What is it like living in Liverpool? In the place that the Beatles walked and had their early years. Are there like iconic or historic sites that people go to visit? Or is it really touristy? What's it like?
It is quite touristy, and obviously the Beatles is one of the main things that draws tourism to Liverpool. As I said before, with listening to them when I was growing up, it never really struck me quite how big they are, I suppose. And I don't know, but I suppose people who live in Memphis and grow up there, maybe they don't know quite how big Elvis is until they're that little bit older. Maybe it's totally different there, I don't know. But I grew up right by Penny Lane, so I've always known about the things that are linked to my life that are in Beatles songs, and that's always been right on my doorstep. So the Magical Mystery Tour, which came about after the song was written, but you know, that drives round by the area that I live in all of the time. I see that all the time. They've always had a presence in my life. John Lennon's first classroom, so he went to Dovedale Primary School. His first classroom was my first classroom, so that's a really strange link, which it blows my mind actually, but that's only when I'm thinking about it. Otherwise it's another thing that passes me by, unfortunately. And it is very touristy, but mainly down by the Albert Dock. There's the Beatles Story Museum now, which is that gets a lot of attention, and there are frequently exhibitions in several museums in Liverpool to do with the Beatles, but I don't really visit them. I've never been to the Beatles Story myself because, as I say, the Beatles is just on my doorstep. It's not something that I go and try to find out more about, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, yeah. And, and it totally makes sense because I live right outside of Nashville, which is very touristy, and it's, people get really excited about it. And I mean, I go grocery shopping there. I run errands there. I'm there all the time. I don't think about it. I've never been to the Country Music Museum. I'm not a country music fan, but there's a Johnny Cash museum. There's a country music museum. I've never been to any of those. I guess it's like what's right in our backyard. We often don't think about the way everybody else does.
Yeah, definitely. Nashville is on my bucket list of places to go because I'd love to go and write in Nashville. I know that there are lots of songwriting academies and songwriting camps that go on throughout the summer months, probably throughout the whole year, but in particular, I think I've done a bit of research, and I'd quite like to go one summer and just spend a few weeks there and write with some like-minded people. Maybe not country, because as you know, I'm not a country artist, but the experience I think would just be absolutely priceless.
Well, you've got a free tour guide anytime you come to Nashville. So we should totally hang out and sing that duet that we keep talking about doing.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it one time, like having a jam session or something, but yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I would, there's a lot to see and do here. And I need to get out and see and do more in my own backyard. I'm going to put that on like my to-do list. To actually go be a tourist in Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, likewise, if you ever come over to Liverpool, then I can show you the sights. I know I've not sounded very enthusiastic about Liverpool, but I do love the city, so I can definitely show you an awful lot.
I made it to Blackpool. I flew into Manchester, made it to Blackpool, and wished that on that trip a few years ago, I'd had time to come into Liverpool because I've always wanted to see it. So maybe one day.
Oh yeah. Better than Blackpool, and I like Blackpool as well, but
yeah,
Blackpool.
Well, the pictures that you post of Liverpool are beautiful, like the parks, like you could go on the walks and things, and I love to see all of the pictures that you post. So.
Yes, yeah.
I love your music, and the song Robin, from the first time I heard it, just struck me in a very special way. And I mean, there's several songs of yours that I connect very deeply with, but Robin is one of them that, I mean, when I hear it, there's like an emotional response, And so I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to write that song?
Yeah, so you'll like this. First of all, you can see here, that's my little Robin, which I don't know if you can see actually.
Yeah.
Let's get it out. Oh. So my mum and dad bought me this only a few weeks ago. It's not a really old thing or anything, but I love robins, and I think I love them more since I've written the song. So the opening scene of Gladiator, we'll start there, where the character spots a robin and the robin flies away. And a good few years ago when I was writing the song, it was a little bit of a rough patch. It was the end of a relationship for me, and I was trying to think positively about everything rather than focus too much on all of the negatives from this relationship that I'd come out of. I spotted a robin, I made a connection and just thought, okay, well, I love the cinematography of the film Gladiator, and so I had a connection when I saw a robin myself, as cheesy as that might sound, where I just thought, right, okay, this can be new beginnings, fresh starts, and that just inspired a lyric more than anything else. So I used the robin as a metaphor for the entire relationship that had been and gone, and as much as I loved that relationship and everything in it, the other person didn't. So I think a lot of people relate to that and have been through similar experiences. That was just a metaphor that I wanted to use to describe it.
Wow. Yeah. It's the lyrics are beautiful. Your songs are so authentic and genuine, and it is that everyday human connection. You know, there's just something that we can all connect to, that we've been through. I think, and that's the music that inspires me most. You know, it's just that really authentic songwriting. So you a few years ago, you put out an EP, Northern Girl, and then not long after that, Wrong Medicine came out.
Yes.
So, and I know I think you've had some new things since then. I don't know if you've released an album since then, and I'm not behind.
No.
Okay, good. There's not an album out there that I'm missing. I'm like, if it was, I'd have to like download it right now. But
no, you've got it.
good. Yeah. So what did you learn from both of those experiences, and how has your music changed, you know, since then?
I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but I won't. I'll keep it kind of in a good amount of time. So Northern Girl was that was released in 2017, and I'd finished my term of university in May and was told, right, your next year of university, you're going to be writing an album as part of one of the dissertations that you need to do. And I'd never written anything in a short space of time. Like, I'd never written so many songs in a short space of time, because I just write whenever. I probably have written 10 songs within a year, and it's a coherent piece of work in itself, but I've never thought, right, I'm going to make an album. So I made it my mission to write a few songs. I think there were 4 on the EP, and have a go at recording it all myself, have a go at producing it all myself, and getting all of the instrumentation that I wanted, not just on a tiny little keyboard, like a MIDI keyboard like I was used to using, but actual instruments, and seeking out various different musicians to help me along the way. I did it for myself more than anything else. That ended up being a fantastic experience, because I mentioned Kate Bush before being a huge inspiration, and her drummer from her very first tour drummed on that EP. So there were a few different connections, which meant that I met him at a gig that he was playing for somebody else. I mentioned the EP, and he literally said to me, why aren't I drumming on it? My first thought was, because why would I ask somebody, you know, who's so well known in the industry to play on my EP? Nobody knows who I am, but he was really lovely. His name's Preston Heyman, and he's a fantastic percussionist. And my EP doesn't do him any justice, because I then produced his percussion myself. But I learned a lot from it. I learned loads of skills, and I got lots of new connections from doing that project. Then moving on to Wrong Medicine, that whole album writing process was completely different, because I was at a completely different time in my life, less happy because of everything that was kind of going on. As I say, it was at the end of a relationship, but it was also me moving back home to Liverpool, so that was a really happy time in my life. But yeah, completely different subject matter in the songs for that album, but I think the production levels were a lot better. I knew to speak to people who could do it better than me, and not be afraid to ask for help from people who are more experienced, because I think I had so much pride in doing it all myself for the EP that I maybe lost out to some of the quality that the album's got. But in terms of how it's changed from the album to now, I didn't realise that my sound had changed quite so much until I played a gig a few weeks ago, and I played a brand new song I've not written in about 2 years, and this song was the first thing I'd written, and everyone said that it was a completely different sound to all my other music. I think it's just your sound just matures and develops as you write.
What do you do to stay motivated? You know, How do you keep yourself motivated, especially when the creativity may be lacking, or you're going through just, a time where it's, I run into that all the time. And the end of last year, I kind of just hit this, I can't create, kind of wall. So what are things that you do to help you with that?
Well, like I say, there was a period of nearly not 2 years actually, it was probably a bit less than that, where I just didn't write. I didn't have the motivation. I know for so many creatives, COVID has had a massive impact in terms of things just stopped. And there was a short while where people were doing virtual performances and doing things a little bit differently, and that was novel, but that novelty wore off. And then for me, certainly, I just didn't have the will or the motivation to really carry on until very recently. But I knew, even though I wasn't writing, that the writing made me happy, and I think I'm happiest when I'm writing and I'm playing. So other things that I know I can do that don't involve being creative, that make me happy, got me back onto that path of being in a place where I could write again. So I'll go out on a long walk. I love walking in the countryside, and I don't do enough of it at the moment, but that can be inspiring because it's a place where you can totally clear your head, and then that's where the lyrics and the music ideas start to come in, because nothing else is filling my head up. But also, yeah, just going to watch a film, going to watch something new, or picking up a new book, or speaking to an old friend will spark memories about something that I'd totally forgotten about, that mean I might have a new lyric idea from that one phone conversation. So yeah, just doing what makes me happy to get me motivated to write again.
Yeah, and it's say a lot of those are very similar for me too. And it's come up a couple of times about nature, and I don't know quite what it is about nature. Maybe that nature is art in and of itself, but there is something about going outside that just stirs that creative process and sparks new ideas and reminds you of old ideas. And even just like you said with the robin, and seeing a robin and equating that with something, giving that a symbolism. There's just so much in nature, just to pull from. So yeah, I have not lately been going on as many walks as I need to as well. We live on a mini farm, and we've got a beautiful lake in the area where I go walking. And so, yeah, it's definitely.
Oh, wow. I was just about to ask, do you have kind of nature on your doorstep, or is it a little bit of a trek for you to get to some countryside? But it sounds like you've got it right there.
Yeah, we have a creek, we have a meadow, we have woods we can go hiking in, and then but I'll drive a few miles away from the house just to go to the local lake, because it's easy, like it's a mile all the way around it, so I can keep track of my miles that way, and it's really pretty. And I'll go there at night because there's street lamps, and so I can actually see to walk. But if I try to walk on our property at night, I mean, it's so dark most of the time that it's not feasible. What is the best piece of advice that someone has ever given you, or that you've ever heard?
Oh, wow.
How's that for putting you on the spot?
Yeah, that's something that, in recent months, something that my mum keeps on bringing up in conversation with various different situations. She says it's something she's heard recently: the harder I work, the luckier I get. So I just think that rings true. And especially in this industry, the music industry, and so many creative fields and other fields as well, there's that thing of, oh, you just need your lucky break. But I think although a lucky break is a thing, and that might happen for some people, there's got to be so much hard work that's put in before that lucky break. It's not just a case of sit back and wait for it to happen. So I think that's a really nice piece of advice. Maybe it's not advice. I don't know whether you'd call it advice, but that's what I'm taking it as.
Yeah.
Work harder.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And you're going to appreciate it and treasure it so much more when you put that toil into it, when you're working at something and you're crafting something with your hands. If it's just handed to you, it's, you don't appreciate, because you didn't have the process to get there as much. So you don't appreciate it as much. I'm speaking from, I'm a workaholic. So coming from me, it's like I constantly have to be doing something. And so I like to work for something. And I think that it just, I don't know, I learn more. It makes me a better person, a better creative. I am really excited to hear a song from you. So do you have a song to play?
I do actually, yeah. This song's called Atlantis, and this is the song I mentioned before, is the most recent one that I've written. So hopefully you like it. Hope that sound was okay.
Yeah, well, it sounded great from where I'm sitting. Yes.
Cool.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. My voice is going a bit now, but thank you.
What is new for you musically? Do you have any singles or EPs, albums coming out?
Well, I'm hoping to release that one. I don't know if that'll be the next single or not, but later on this year I would like to have a run of singles. I'm going to release those and then build up to something next year. It'd probably be an EP rather than an album, because I think I've gone a little bit too much too soon. So I'm going to slow things down, get back a little bit. But my last single was October 2020, so I will be releasing something this year, get the ball rolling again.
Awesome. Well, you'll have to text me and let me know when that's out so I can go download it.
Will do.
And I've heard that that's the best way to do it now. I had a music manager on the show who's managed very big time bands. And she was saying that the best way with the changing industry, the best way to do it is, instead of releasing a whole album, is to release it a single at a time.
Yeah,
everything has just changed so much. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know that in terms of the way streaming works now, singles is where the money is at and where all of the exposure will come from. I know certainly for unknown or unsigned artists that works better, but for the bigger bands are doing that as well. I know Muse is a band that I absolutely love. I don't know if you like Muse at all. Right, cool. But I heard a few years ago that they were going to go the same way, and they said, oh, we're not going to do an album again, we're just going to do singles. Whether that was true, I don't know. But I was a little bit upset, thinking I like the album, you know, I love an album release, and yeah, so
Yeah,
but
well,
yeah, it'd be singles for me.
yeah, well, that'll be awesome. I got to see them in Philly a few years ago, and it was on their Drones tour, and that was just
Oh
an
yeah.
awesome
Oh,
experience.
that's the one tour I've missed. I
Oh,
wish I'd gone to
it
that
was
tour.
awesome. I have video from the concert. I'll have to like email it to you in a drive
Oh yeah,
or
definitely.
something.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? Where do you want people to go listen to your music and follow you on social media?
I've released everything on all major streaming platforms, so Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon Play. You'll find my music anywhere if you search Meg Doherty. There are two Meg Dohertys. There is an Australian Meg Doherty, that is not me. I'm sure her music's grand as well, but yeah, just be aware there are two. Social media wise, on Instagram, I am at Meg F Doherty. Sorry, no, I am Meg Doherty UK on Instagram and on Facebook as well. My Facebook page has the same name.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Meg. And I'm so glad we got to meet.
Yes, yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to
Me
meet
too.
in person and we can like go, have a blast in downtown Nashville, and I can be a tourist
Definitely.
with you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on as well.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, come back anytime. And I will, when your single comes out, I'll be sure to share it and tell everybody that it's ready to download.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Sarah.
All right. Thank you and have a good night. And I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.